Hello, I'm Eric Brax, and this is the fast video for the meaning of life. Now, I'm a scientist, so I don't say that lightly, but this, love equals energy, I'm going to explain in this video is very rigorous and wonderful. It brings forward to us this, which is the quickest path to mental well-being for every person on the planet. It only takes a week, and it really is the full enlightenment experience that most people will experience an overwhelm of liberation and relief as a result of doing this 1, 2, 3 step process. Love equals energy is also going to deliver us the end of loneliness, the end of bullying, the end of war, and the unity between religion and science. This is totally all unexpected, I understand that, but this is the doorway through which this all happens. Solving fusion and global warming is going to go hand in hand, and when we're all well, are going to be solving this in the manner of an exciting sports team event. We're all going to be championing our teams, and we're all going to be sharing our results, and it's going to be on the news regularly. We're going to be so excited to win at this, because when we do, everything else is just bliss. So I'm going to go through these diagrams fast today. In fact, the first two I'm going to skip because they're introductory, and this is the fast version, so we'll get onto it. The next 4 plates are going to explain the meaning of life. The first one I'm going to get rid of really fast because it just says that we shouldn't be surprised that the answer is love. Now this one, we're questioning who were we 10,000 years ago. The idea is, who were we before we had the current modern world? And we end up with a list of real human attributes, who we really are, our identity. When we're well, we have these things. We are enthusiastic. But the modern world has had 100 years to try and give us well-being. But the features of the modern world are a list of tools. That's not who we are. The intellect is really important, but it just needs to be tethered back to the heart so that we have direction, we have our why we do anything. This is what this diagram is for. We're going to move past it. It just says that we are love. And it helps us define what that is when we think of ourselves. It's called original farmer's mind. The next diagram is about science in our current position. So here we have a quantum bit that started at the Big Bang. Now this diagram is to say that we weren't just popped into the universe somewhere in the middle here. We are as much a part of that one as everything else in the universe. And we are definitely the fruit of this universe. And if we are love, it is a love universe. The question then is, what's the join between our conscious, our inner experience, and everything we see around us? That's what we need. It's the meaning of life. And a sensible way to start that is to think, how about we expand the meaning of the word love? You see, we have it as an internal experience, but if I took my brain and spinal cord out and put it on a table, it would die. We have to consider the whole human body as consciousness. That's not an unreasonable thing. When we do that, we can automatically include physical love in that. So it's not just kindness and community, but also the air we breathe, the food we eat, the water we drink, the temperate climate, these sorts of things. You see, so we can say that scientifically, the meaning of love would be everything that's good for a human being. That's a good start, a very strong start. I hope you agree. When you consider a rabbit needs soft soil to burrow into. So that would be part of rabbit love. All plants on the earth need nutrients in the soil. That's all part of plant love. So you see, love is simply the conditions required for basic survival. It doesn't even have to be perfect, but great conditions for survival. We can go down a level when you consider a cell in your body or in a plant. It needs to be surrounded by the right other cells or conditions in order to go through to the next frame of the universe, the next frame of time. In the love universe, you see, this all makes sense. So that's cellular love, basically. It just is. It's the right conditions that allow that to exist and go on in the universe. But even deeper than that, there are molecules, proteins, the cell wall structure, and in a molecular fashion, there is also molecular love. The right conditions are required to have these things appear. Quantum mechanically, it's the same deal, and that's why we're able to say, very sensibly, once you soak this in and go through it in your own mind, that love is the quantum mechanical process of this evolving universe. So love equals energy says that we are love in a universe of love, and that the similes for love are traditionally the word God, but truth. Truth is the biggest word there is, but love is how we feel it, and the word God is also now how we feel it. These other words are the same. Energy, the universe, it's all love. And it means that we are surrounded in this frame of time with everything we need to thrive. So the question is, why aren't we? We're going to solve that next. Okay, the next 4 images are called a way to be, and this is the 100% mental well-being or enlightenment. For most people, it's going to come through with that experience. This first diagram explains that the enlightened position is to live in this world of love. When you expect that and you behave in that way, you will find it's true and everything just works. All your problems disappear. It's natural wellness. It's an enlightened position. These are the features, and the doors around an enlightened person who is happy are all open. Opportunity abounds. Everywhere a happy person looks, there are opportunities. And they're welcome. People like to help those people. But as individuals and as a society, we are all somewhere around here. That is, the fear program has taken hold of us. We're unhappy. We're closing the doors around us to stay comfortable. It's a disheartened state. That's all it is. We labelled it depression, and it's just living in a world of fear. This is a stuck place. There's nowhere to go here. So a way to be is all about moving us as individuals and as a society along to here, where we're comfortably in the middle. Yeah? Nice and relaxed. This diagram here shows us that we don't really have an option. When we are born, we are in life and just have to react. We have to get hurt. We're just responding like a mouse in a maze, and that's all we can do. But if we're lucky, we have a point in our lives where we have a know thyself moment. When we have that, we are checking out our history and seeing our lives from a kind of a higher viewpoint. And we can see that everything that happened had to happen. And we can see that some of it was our fault. So by coming to terms with that, by understanding our past, we can allow ourselves to release all of that stuff. And it starts to allow us to go forward in a way where we can try this out, and it becomes so true and overwhelmingly true that you end up just having success after success and living a life of joy. So that is the enlightenment experience. We're going to do step 1 after this. First, we have 2 visual models, and this is another reason I know this is perfect. Nobody gets left behind. This is, I call the Jesus model, and this the Buddhist model. Now, with Jesus, we know that there have been a lot of mystical stories attached to the narrative of Jesus. But realistically, he was a guy walking through Jerusalem talking about the power of love, and that is absolutely true. So the church in the future, very soon, is going to stop talking about the mystical things about Jesus, because that's all of that time. But we'll focus now instead on the words of Jesus. The reason it's the Jesus model here is because we all start as love. We're born, and then the fear program kicks in. It destroys all the aspects of our heart, our motivation, our creativity, our sense of confidence. It just goes out the window. But the magic of the English language, or language generally, is that we can add a word. So where we have fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, we're going to add formulate to say that humans always formulate so that we don't have to respond in a fearful way, and we can stay in full beam love. Now, as humans, we will sometimes falter, but when we're at a state of zero victimology, which happens next, you don't allow yourself to react anymore. You hold it as a point of pride to have zero victimology. And so if I do react sometime this week, I'll be quite quick, because I'm so unused to that, to realize it and say, I'm sorry, I reacted, that was my problem and my fault. So it's absolutely recoverable. When we start behaving this way, depression is just going to evaporate. People in 20 years won't know what depression is. Now, on the Buddhist side of things, they have this word called relax, which is an important one to remember. When we're watching reality TV, we see people reacting all over the place, and when they do, all their best options are disappearing immediately. We find ourselves whispering to the screen, relax, just relax. It's the right answer. But we can't stop ourselves from reacting because we don't have that understanding yet. In a minute, we're going to do what's called the KFAG model. It stands for kindness, forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude. So by breaking love into these 4 components, our minds really can use those effectively. And it effectively gives us an identity reset where all the original light of love shines through. Even though we remember the past, the love is not impeded, just like this diagram. So nobody's left behind. It's really important. We've got some visual diagrams there. Now we can do the first step, which is understanding the past. We have our autopilot on the top there, and we have our higher awareness, keeping an eye on things. Because we don't know anything about our subconscious, we're going to put in there kindness, forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude, and do this process, which only takes a weekend. It's very pleasant, and you end up, by having the protection of surrounding yourself with love, you end up investigating your past and being able to put things in the right places and closing the doors gently on those things, saying, okay, I think I've processed it all. It's all good. All of those blocks, by the way, go both ways. So it's not just forgiving other people or accepting other people and events. It's forgiving yourself, being kind to yourself. It's all two-way. So there's a lot to do there, and it all happens though in a nice weekend. Once you're happy to stand there with zero victimology or near to it, because it might take a week for it to really soak in before you can really say that. But this is, it just makes sense, doesn't it? People can only do this for themselves. A therapist can guide a person, but this is doing it for yourself. And this will become the normal things, like the user manual for the human mind. Well, step 2 is communication recovery. And that's because due to all of those experiences we had when we were young, we've altered our personalities. We speak too much or too little, all of these things. There are 7 videos on my website that have been purposely put there. They're the world's best communicators talking about communication. So by watching each of those videos twice, you can be bored with them then and say, look, I know this stuff. Now, once you know it, that's the truth, right? So now your job and the fun of your life is to bring your autopilot into agreement with that truth. We all stand a really, really good chance of becoming very good communicators. We do this, again, it's a two-way thing. We communicate with outside of ourselves, but we also communicate internally. We use a journal or a diary for that, where we keep notes of what our intentions are and what our progress is doing. Step 3 is really just joyfully living. You're getting up in the morning, you're checking your mindset, making sure it's in the right place, doing some yoga, having breakfast, and checking in on your journal to get yourself in that wonderful and productive and joyful way to be. That's the end of a way to be. These 3 steps are so clear and obvious. They use love to heal. If there's anything needs to be added or removed from this, I'm perfectly willing to do that, but we can only do that by getting this onto the podcasts and starting to talk about it in a public way. All right. The next two diagrams are about the effects of love equals energy on society. Okay, what's surprising is that we are living at the most exciting time there has ever been to be alive. This is the history of civilization. In it there are two stories. One where we get better at killing each other. This is bullying at work. It's people living in the fear program. But at the same time, we've got people trying to figure things out. Love equals energy has gotten to the point where it's the culmination of that process. We now, because we're all connected, this is the only time in our human history where we as a people can lock in our identity and say, we are love, and that's what all of our society will be built on this. This is a proclamation we all make together. When we do that, we begin what I've called here the end of war period. Ultimately, it's about transcending our animal origins, removing that fear program, knowing that love is what works, and it doesn't just work. It's profoundly amazing, and it's going to take us to another level. This is to say that it's not just everybody on earth who supports this, but it's also the biggest companies in the world, because they are us too. They're designing the future that this will bring about. The fact that you woke up this morning being a little scared about how unstable the world is, and now suddenly you realize, oh, the world is just about to become amazing, is quite the mind shift. Because from here on, this line here, success after success, goes on eternally. And this will end up being seen in the future, in the long future, as just a blip. But this is the future of humanity going on right there. The last image explains that. The big companies here, either together or by themselves, or one of them, will be thrilled to have the opportunity, like making Google Earth, to make this. It's the reconfiguration of knowledge. It starts with love equals energy in the middle. It's surrounded by a way to be, which we've just done, human well-being. It's surrounded then by human history, and from that radiates all human knowledge. So this is now a tight thing, sphere of truth that hasn't appeared ever before. All we need is an accreditation system so that we can find our way around in this thing. But this will be available to all people for free very soon, all knowledge, because the better educated we are, the better we are. Because of this, we'll be able to throw away the doomsday clock. We can teach this in schools immediately. So once we get this into your podcasts and we talk about it publicly, and the experts all agree, governments will have license to say, quickly, get this into our secondary education. Global warming and fusion is just going to become solved really quickly when all of our mindsets are on that page. In our societies today, we have this split between natural wisdom, which is held by religion, and natural logic, which is held by science. They don't normally talk. But when we put love equals energy in the middle, both sides will really enthusiastically take it. Not in the first hour upon hearing about it, but after a day of consideration, it'll become an exciting new era that's just going to... This is where the party starts. Because, you see, the churches, while they will still do masses for people who want masses, they won't have to keep talking about the words of Jesus, because we know those. We recognize them. They're in our hearts. So the churches and temples, all the places of spiritual worship in every town, the way I see it, they'll be open all day, every Sunday, offering free tea and cakes supplied by local businesses. Couples will meet other couples, singles can meet other singles. We'll all be there, scientists, artists, and priests. We are all inhabiting each of those things, right? We'll all be scientists, priests, and artists, very expressive individuals, happy, joyful. It's just going to start a party. The next 10 years is like the coming of age of the human species. And over the next 20 years as well, people in China and Russia will equally be getting this information and relaxing to the point where in 20 years' time nobody will even consider war as a solution to anything. I'll read the last thing now because it's pretty profound. This is the doorway that the whole human species has to walk through because it's the only doorway we have. We can trust it as well. We can trust this path. And it's free. It's scalable. It's unifying. It's fully transparent. We know what it is as individuals, every one of us, because we're all humans. We all want to love and be loved. Is that not true? It's almost instant. It can be communicated using 12 images alone, and there's nothing to remember. So any person, there's no excuse really for any person, and why would anybody want to not have their best life? So everyone will get up to speed on this. And finally, it's fully in accord with everything humanity already knows. This is just built on receipts. Notebook. There is 0 other paths towards global well-being. I hope you're on the same page as me now. You can see that this could be the way to go for all of humanity, and so it's going to be a wonderful new podcast topic. In fact, I think it's going to be the next podcast topic for the next 10 years or so. Okay, watch the longer video, and then I'll do a separate video purely on a way to be, those 4 sheets, so that I can offload everything I've got and other people can add in or subtract. We can gradually turn that into the ultimate takeoff point for any human being to be taught in schools. Okay, thank you. Get me on your podcast. If you're not seeing me on any podcasts, get me on your podcast. You may end up having a dialogue between us which becomes a historical document. Okay? So for you as well, you may be able to monetize that strongly in the future. Everything is good. When we follow love, a golden path appears before us. It's amazing, isn't it? Okay, thank you.